Greetings, this is ObiWan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we're going to be breaking down the third episode of Season 2 of The Bad Batch, The Solitary Clone, and we're going to be talking about the next Mandalorian Season 3 trailer, which has not released yet, but it is imminent, and we're looking forward to that. All that and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to watch my annual football game coming up next week to see that Mandalorian trailer. Although, you know, I'm feeling a warm nostalgia, really, about a Monday Night Football Star Wars trailer drop. I remember The Force Awakens had one of those. Remember Last Jedi had one, and, of course, Rise of Skywalker as well. My favorite thing was for the Last Jedi one, someone who was at the game that they debuted the trailer during. Apparently, they showed the trailer on the Jumbotron at the game. And so somebody filmed it so you could get the football fans' reaction to the trailer. And I just remember when Chewbacca showed up on the screen, one guy went, love Chewie. And I'm like, yeah, I love Chewie too. All right, football fans. I like, you guys have got taste. This is good. So yeah, looking forward to that on Monday. And of course, getting into what looks to be, or what has been a terrific week of Bad Batch. Going to be a great show.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting crossovers with the NFL and Star Wars. Like I went to a game at the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, and there were so many Raiders fans dressed up as Star Wars characters. Because there's this kind of like the Raiders are like the dark side persona of the NFL. They're kind of like a villainous persona. So you had like a Darth Vader Raiders guy, you had like a Scout Trooper, Black Scout Trooper Raiders guy, all these different characters. So that was really fun. I think at one point they played the Imperial March during the game. So that's cool. And
the best Star Wars sporting event though that I've been to was when we went to Star Wars night at the Angels game. During Star Wars Celebration Anaheim in 2015, because that was the year of the Chewie We're Home trailer. And I remember they started to play the trailer in the stadium, and everybody, all the Star Wars fans who were at Celebration or at the game, and we start reacting like, yes, it's the trailer again, here we go. And then like halfway through it, they cut the trailer off and it becomes just this monkey jumping up and down, which is the rally monkey. And I was like, what is going on? Just play the trailer.
All over the trailer. Yeah.
That
was absolutely hilarious.
It was terrific. I don't think the Mandalorian trailer will be cut off by a cowboy or a buccaneer jumping up and down. But you never know. It could happen. These things weirder things have happened.
Yeah, they have. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Well, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, we have another trailer to look forward to. Another sports ball game. Yay, sports! To make us watch some sports to get some Star Wars. That's what they do to us. But hey, it's a small price to pay for some more Star Wars content. And yeah, the Mandalorian, it's weird. You know, we're talking about the Bad Batch tonight. Very looking forward to that. But like, oh yeah, the Mandalorian is coming in just a few weeks. Like, for crying out loud, it's kind of crazy. We're kind of blessed here, Star Wars fans. We've got a lot on our plate and more to come. So yeah, can't wait to get into it all.
Yeah, next week is kind of the dress rehearsal for what the last couple of weeks of the Bad Batch are going to be. It's going to be Mando and Bad Batch at the same time. Fun.
I can't wait. And then also joining us from the Raeside, it's Hannah.
G'day there. Great to be back for another week. One of the best animated episodes I've ever seen. So super excited to talk about it. And yes, thankfully the trailer is dropping at a reasonable time here in Australia. Every time we've had a Mando trailer, it's like dropped at like 3 a.m. or something. Or not a Mando trailer, but any kind of Star Wars trailer. It's always like 3 a.m. in Australia. And I've woken up in the middle of the night to all these panicked calls from usually you, Chris, or someone else being like, it's out. Where are you? And I'm like, I'm here. I'm seeing it. But I'm very excited that this one's at a reasonable time here in Australia. So very, very keen. Can't wait to see Bo-Katan being really, really cool in this trailer. Is my prediction.
Yeah, you get those calls saying, "Get up, we need you to do a reaction video." You're like, "I can't react if I'm asleep. I'm sorry."
Yeah, it's like, I'm in bed. What are you talking about? It's like, yeah.
Maybe just be like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah. Wow. Do I go back to sleep now?
Yeah. All right, yeah, great. Over.
We're almost to the point where like Alexa will be smart enough to use a new Star Wars trailer as your alarm. So you
oh my god, yes.
New Star Wars trailer. Just start playing it and wake me up with it. Thank you.
There you go. Now there's an idea. There's a big tech idea. Somebody should get on that. Before we get into everything, something fun happened in between last week's show and this week's show that I think we should
yes, it did.
We should share because
oh no,
Ben, you've already got several nicknames on the show. Yeah, Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy, Ben Hart with no E, Ben Hart, the trivia champion somehow, and now
where these all coming from? I didn't ask for any of these.
Yeah, and now I think we can add Ben Mega to your.
Oh, that's what we're going with. I was wondering what the amalgamation was going to be.
Ben Mega to your or Ben Mega, maybe it is more accurate.
Ben Mega.
Ben Mega. Ben Mega.
Because last week everyone listened.
Omega-gen.
Last
continue.
I'm like jamming hard.
Point is, last week, everyone will remember you did a phenomenal impression of Tech from the Bad Batch, and then you did an equally good, and we all agree on that, impression of Omega. And one of our listeners heard this and was so inspired that they did some art of Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy, as Omega. Which is just amazing.
It's so good.
But isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah, if you're just listening to this, you have to come and check out this one moment on the video feed because we've got this phenomenal piece of art of Ben in Omega's costume, questioning the ethics of stealing loot from Count Dooku.
I feel like really quick, I just have to, on a very serious note, I have to reach out. I haven't publicly reached out to him yet, so I need to say this right now. To D. Bradley Baker, you're good. I'm not coming for your job. I know you're very worried right now. I know someone new kid on the block. He's doing all your voices perfectly, maybe even better than you are. You know, I understand you might be worried. But I promise, I'm not coming for your job. All right, I'm not voice acting. It's not an interest of mine. Okay, so you're good.
Yeah. So this artwork was created by at Kajira Creations on social media. Yes, round of applause.
So amazing. Not the first time they have done this.
Yes. So she's done a couple of other ones in the past, including the Inquisitors playing Pokemon Go and Omega with her bow drawn saying good soldiers follow order, which
that was the first one that haunted our dreams.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we're gonna scare the hell out of them with this piece of art. And this one just delights to no end.
Yeah. So you can follow her work at KAJIRAKREATIONS on social media, and we'll put some links in descriptions and show notes and all that, so you can check this out because
and seriously,
phenomenal work.
Thank you so much for this. Like genuinely, like this
so accurate
made my year already. We're like a few days in this year, it just completely made it because
I think
just amazing seeing this popping up in our feed.
Yeah, I think unequivocally we can say this is the best thing of 2023.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be in the highlights reel at the end of the year. This is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If we do a best of episode this year, this is This is in here.
That's it.
And it's very weird because I've never, like, I've seen artwork of like real people. Obviously, I've never seen artwork of myself.
Yeah. What a
the
sense
glasses,
of justice.
the glasses are so perfect. Those are exactly your glasses.
Yeah, it's saying, and they got the hair and everything. It's just wild, and it's very weird looking at myself in the mirror, but also not.
Yeah, well, because we wanted you to do a cosplay of Lonnie from Andor. I think
that's right. That's right.
I think we've moved on. I think you now for celebration London, you got to get your Omega costume together. And we fully expect to see you there. I want to see a picture, Ben. I want to see a picture of you and Michelle Ang together, and you have to be dressed as Omega, and we'll be like, which one is the real Omega? Who knows?
We don't know.
Who can tell?
I feel like that has to happen because, like, there's not a ton of redheads in Star Wars. Like, I was already thinking General Hux. We had Lonnie, things. But now I'm like, oh, this is opening up all kinds of doors for me. Now, this is great.
Yeah. Well, just Ben is every single character.
But also, no one at Celebration is going to get the joke, okay?
Oh,
no one. I mean, walking around looking like an
if you're
idiot
Amiga, you're Amiga.
Ben, they'll get it because I'm going to follow you around with a print of this and just be like, this. See this? This is Ben. This is
what he is.
And we'll still be like, what is this?
It'll be like, and then I'll say, check out the podcast, and we'll give them a pin. And that's how
I swear it's funny. If you know the
done.
context, it's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it.
Exactly. Fantastic. So again, thank you to @Kajira Creations for this delightful piece of
so good.
fine art. Let's call
fine
it
art.
Fine art. This belongs.
Sir Benjamin the gentleman would appreciate this.
As my long lost cousin Indiana would say, it belongs in a museum. All right, let's plug some things, and then we'll talk about some more Star Warsy stuff. Chris, you're muted.
Oh, it doesn't say he's muted. But he's talking.
He's talking.
His mouth is moving.
I never unmuted after that last cough take that I did. Wow. So all this time that I've been talking about how awesome and super cool that fan art is.
Oh no, were you muted that whole time?
No one heard.
Wow.
No
Just
one heard.
hyping it up.
It sounded like I was completely apathetic, like,
what? I was like, what? Maybe it's not up to Chris's standard. Okay.
Okay.
You've been doing so great with technology these last 2 weeks, Chris. Just keep going. Keep going, buddy.
I know.
Should we end the show here? Should we end it here?
Cut it off. Cut it off.
Head.
Don't touch any buttons for the love of.
Well, I agree with everything everyone said about how amazing and funny and hilarious that was. That was super cool. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Look at that.
There we go.
So cool. Okay. So for more great content like this, subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't. Punch that subscribe button. Chewy. And you can super chat with us. That's how you can support us financially. You can also become a channel member as well, and support us on a recurring basis. And if you're into listening to our show, like if you're in the car and you're driving, we don't recommend watching the show. You can listen over at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and many other places where you can get podcasts across the internet and the app stores. We are on Discord. We have an official Star Wars Underworld Discord. You can find the link to that in the description.
The link works. I promise this time.
It works, and you can find our weekly pre-shows and links to those when they're live. And that's where you can get to them after the fact as well. And we also want to encourage everybody to check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network. That's where you can find the Raeside, Ion Canon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, and many other shows. They all have their own YouTube and or Twitch channels that you can find. So make sure you look all of that up. And if you want to send us feedback, you can send us feedback by emailing swunderworld@gmail.com.
The capitalization in that banner just threw me for a loop there.
I decided to be fancy.
Wait, did I see it?
And take
I've never seen a G capitalized in an email before.
So
at Gmail.
So I noticed when I was reading our notes that there's a beautiful plug section in the notes that some of it looks kind of new, and I'm like, I'm gonna just redo our banners based on, which is probably, I don't know if that was smart or not.
At gmail.com.
And I'm like, maybe this is supposed to be like this for a reason. So I'm gonna.
Dude, that's so good. I love that.
So yeah, I mean,
You're
it works
welcome.
too. I mean, that's where I got this lovely, banner with all of the names of the shows on our network from. I mean, it's high quality stuff in the show notes.
Phenomenal.
It's no wonder I
We've got great
copy
show
and paste
notes.
into the notes every damn week for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I feel like it shows that no one's reading your show notes, Ben. If we're just realizing it.
Yeah, I put way too much effort in the show notes, and apparently no one appreciates it. So
I do. I remade all of our banners. based
Okay,
on
one.
letter for letter with the same exact punctuation and capitalization.
That's what it's there for.
Star Wars Underworld at gmail.com.
Yes.
Oh, dude. Oh.
All right, one more plug for me. Check out the latest edition of Hoth Off the Press. Read my writings about Willow. Check it out. All right, let's get into things. We've already talked about this a little bit. The Mandalorian Season 3 trailer. Very low-key announcement about this. It was kind of buried in a press release from ESPN. So I'm going to kind of go out on a limb and say it maybe isn't going to be the biggest trailer of all time. But the trailer is going to drop Monday, January 16th during the ESPN coverage of the NFL Super Wild Card game. Why is it super? I don't care. Between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It will drop during halftime. And of course, Season 3 of The Mandalorian premieres on March 1st. I have a feeling next week might be another 2-show week for us. We haven't discussed this, haven't figured out what exactly we're going to do, but depending on what's in the trailer, it may merit its own show. So
I think
we'll see.
it's a super wild card because they added a wild card game that wasn't there a few years ago.
Okay.
At some point in the pandemic, they did that. I was not sure when. And then the other thing is this game's getting top billing because it might be Tom Brady's last game. Now, that's of course a big might because
hasn't he retired like 3 times already?
He's retired once.
Somehow Brady
kind of.
returned.
Yeah. So, but every year, as it drags on and as he gets closer to 50 years old, whenever he's up for elimination, it's like, okay, this might be the last game. So I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the most watched games ever. So I see why they chose this one for that.
Makes sense. Just on the on the front of the trailer, like speculating about what's going to be in a trailer is kind of folly, but what are we sort of hoping to see? Is there anything any sort of expectations for what might show up in this trailer? Hannah, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I want to jump in here because I like I opened with, would love to see Bo-Katan. I'm a big Bo-Katan fan. I think Katie Sackhoff does an amazing job portraying her. I think she's been such a great addition. Like she was such a great addition to season 2. So, seeing that we're going to be on Mandalore. She's still a big player in it, obviously with the Darksaber and all that kind of stuff. But I can't really predict right now of who's kind of the villain. Who's going to be the bad guy or what are they going against? So I don't know if we'll get it, but I would like some kind of, not clarification, but some sort of direction of like, oh, Bo-Katan is going to be like the bad guy. Like it's going to be Mando versus Bo-Katan, or it is going to be a team up, or just something that just kind of sets up where we're going with those two characters at the start of the season. That's kind of my main thing going into it. Obviously, I don't think we're gonna get any. If there's cameos in it, we won't get any cameo spoilers. But hoping for some Bo-Katan kind of info in it.
That makes sense. I think the thing that's really confusing right now is because they're spinning off Ahsoka from Mandalorian, and Ahsoka is going to be airing later this year. Kind of the big question is, how are these two shows going to relate to each other? How are the plots going to relate to each other? And we're assuming from the fact that it very much seems like Ahsoka is going to be the live action sequel to Star Wars Rebels, that they're going to probably keep the Thrawn plot in the Ahsoka area. But I wonder, Thrawn is such a big thing, and obviously if you go back to the the original version of Thrawn that's no longer canon from the expanded universe, he was that big top villain of this post Return of the Jedi era. So you wonder, like, is his appearance in the Ahsoka show really going to be just confined to the Ahsoka show, or is that going to bleed into Mando too?
Yeah.
And then
I
how
can't
is that
imagine.
gonna work?
I can't imagine that he's just the Ahsoka villain. I think the fact that they started off the teasers for him in season 2 of Mando, I think we may see his introduction, his proper introduction might be in Ahsoka. But I feel like, you know, in 4 years time or whatever, when we're sitting around talking about the season 4 trailer for The Mandalorian, I suspect we'll be talking about Thrawn's got to be in here.
He's not a one and done villain. Like he's Star Wars' first real attempt at like a perennial type villain, because so many of the villains in Star Wars, like they're only around for a season of a TV show, like, you know, like the Grand Inquisitor and like people like that. And so I think that they're attempting, hopefully for Thrawn, as they have so far, to be a recurring perennial villain through multiple eras of Star Wars, just like Ahsoka is like a perennial protagonist through multiple eras of Star Wars. In fact, they kind of have been placed against each other, which is kind of interesting. So I think, going back to what you said, Hannah, about Bo-Katan, I'm thinking that maybe that conflict between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan is like gonna hold us over. It's going to be like the conflict, the friction of the season to kind of hold us over until they're able to introduce Thrawn, and then Thrawn's able to come in season 4 and be that real evil type villain character.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Ben, what about
and
you?
on the note of villains, I don't think we'll see Thrawn. I am kind of hoping we'll see Moff Gideon in the trailer, because he's one that's been out there, and I caught him. Giancarlo Esposito was on the Tonight Show last night. Had a very lively interview and talking about Mando, whatever else he's doing, and you know, he was also quoted as saying recently that Moff Gideon is going to have like this grand, like rising like a phoenix moment in the new season. What's going on there? Because I have been very curious since season 2 of like, you know, what's going to happen to him? Like, is he done as a character? You know, he's in New Republic custody seemingly. Someone took him back to the New Republic. She shall not be named, and who shall not be heard from again. You know, did that, and you know what's goes on from there. I don't know. But apparently he's going to have a presence in this new season. Like, where does he go from here? Because I was quite frankly a little disappointed. I loved his character. I loved what they were doing with him, and then he was, you know, kind of looming in the background for a season and a half, and finally showed up at the end of season 2. I want to see more of him. I want to see what he's doing and what is his grand plan. And just the idea of like, okay, Bo-Katan is an antagonist potentially in this new season. I think they've outright said it now, so it's pretty much confirmed. And now Moff Gideon is obviously an antagonist, but Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon hate each other. Like but they're on the same side potentially against Din Djarin. So like, how does that play out? That's cool.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by what the Imperial Presence might be in this season, because it's just been it seemed like they got kind of taken off the board, but they're still looming out there, and we know, you know, eventually where this winds up with the sequel trilogy. So, that'll be really interesting. I'm hoping that here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that the trailer doesn't disappoint, because the season 2 Mando trailers all kind of.
That's right. I was about to mention that.
They were really all kind of boring. Yeah. And it was because
they needed to hide a lot.
Yeah. They were hiding everything. And they don't have to hide anything anymore.
Yeah, it was like
Cobb Vanth,
right?
Cobb Vanth is out there. Ahsoka's out there. Boba Fett's out there. Like, I'd like to see these characters alluded to
Dominic,
in the trailer.
They haven't announced that Mara Jade is in the show yet, nor have they announced that Talon Card is in the show yet.
But all I'm getting at is that there's a wider universe than we saw in those Mando season 2 trailers, which suggested it was just going to be more of season 1 and wasn't going to expand out. And I'd like to see that universe in the trailer.
Mount Tantus, Duras, Saboeth,
all these things.
Istilamir.
Throw it all in. Why not? Although I don't think we'll see the lizard, the Force lizard guys.
Ook.
Luke. I mean, that's why he looked so weird in the season 2 finale, because it was Luke with 2 U's.
That's why they couldn't go with the recast, because it's a lot harder to clone a recast, so because they'd have to recast twins, which really narrows the audition pool.
Yeah, it does. All right, so Mando trailer next week on Monday. Tune into Monday Night Football, or don't. Just watch the trailer when it drops on YouTube. You don't have to watch the game and complain about it on social media. That's an option that exists to you.
And did anyone else look up how long a NFL half goes for to figure out when exactly the time?
I obviously know the answer.
To be half an hour. And half an hour? That's so short.
Minutes.
Yeah.
90 minutes. Wait, what?
Technically it's 90 minutes of play or 30 minutes of play.
It's 90 minutes of our real life watching time.
Yeah.
And it's 30 minutes of game time.
And it feels like an eternity.
So it's half. So essentially 8:30. And from 8:30 till 8:45, we could be getting the trailer.
No, more like 9:30. Sometime between 9 and 9:45. Game starts at 8.
Hang on, one half goes for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
In real time.
What on earth, you Americans?
Because they'll say there's 2 minutes left in the half, until the half, but there's a 30 minutes, there'll be timeouts and stuff like that.
American sports do this crazy thing where they stop the clock when the whistle blows.
Yes.
They don't just play.
No other sport does that. Do they not know?
No.
The NFL is tame compared to basketball.
Most sports stop the clock.
Basketball is pretty bad.
Basketball, it's okay, so we're down by 10 points and there's 10 seconds left. Let's foul 10 times and try to score 10 times between the fouls.
Yeah, I remember when the Raptors won the NBA championship, the last 6 seconds, I swear, took an hour. It was ridiculous, and there was no drama to it. They had already won the game.
They got runoffs in the NFL. If you try to stop the clock by doing something illegal, they will make the clock run while you're not playing to compensate for it. So it's they fixed that problem in the NFL. Whereas basketball, it's just whistle, 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 whistle. The last 10 seconds take an hour.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay.
And God forbid you have a tie game; it'll never end.
All right. Let's move off of this NFL talk and Mandalorian talk and get into what will be our main discussion this week, and that is, of course, The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 3, The Solitary Clone, directed by Saul Ruiz and written by Amanda Rose Munoz. The Commander Cody Crosshair team up we've all been waiting for, and the Separatist holdout we've all been waiting for as well, I think. So much to get into, and we'll kick things off how we always do. Go around the table, give our initial impressions of the episode, and Ben, as always, we're going to throw it to you first. What did you think of The Solitary Clone?
I think I'm going to echo something that I think Hannah said earlier, was that this has to be, for me at least, one of the strongest and best episodes of Star Wars animation we've ever gotten. Certainly one of the best Bad Batch episodes we've gotten so far. Just such a strong episode, and I think it was great. It was such a breath of fresh air for so many different reasons. Obviously, after the first 2 episodes being so focused on the batch, the main batch, and then you're what's happening with Crosshair? Where's where you promised us Commander Cody? Where is he? You get all of that in this episode, and it's really throws you right into it, and just this whole thing with it feels, obviously it's very nostalgic for us Clone Wars fans going back and having clones versus droids, but it's way deeper than that, and it's way more emotional than that. And this show, I think, really flexes its muscles in regards to there's so many scenes where there's no dialogue. It's just acting, and it's weird to say that in an animated medium, but there's some really great acting with all these characters. doing this, and it's incredible. I mean, it really was. I think it was a fantastic episode. Like I said, one of my favorites, definitely my favorite of the season so far. We only got 3, but I genuinely enjoyed this much more than the first 2 episodes. And I didn't not enjoy the first 2 episodes, but I just didn't think they were as strong as that. I feel like I can forgive the first 2 episodes being maybe not as strong as I expected, being that this one was so strong coming immediately afterwards. And it really was an incredible episode, and I'm looking forward to getting more into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, what about you? Your initial impressions of episode 3?
Yeah, I was super thrilled with this episode. I've mentioned it a lot before, of this concept of I love it when Star Wars is subtle. And yeah, Ben, one of the things you mentioned there as well is there's a lot of scenes here where there's like little to no dialogue, and it's just purely like the soundscape of it all, like the music, the sounds that we hear in the scene. Like, it's just so ominous and heavy. And I think especially for fans of the Clone Wars and for fans of the Bad Batch as well, there was a lot of nostalgia of this episode in terms of just like kind of reflecting upon this whole clone journey we went on of 7 seasons of Clone Wars, kind of getting to know these clones quite personally. And like, I felt like all that reflection and like memory of that just like came back in this episode. It was just, I found it so emotionally heavy. It was like, whoo, afterwards I was like, oh man, I need to like weep or cry or like just jump for joy. I don't know. It was just so good. I enjoyed it so much. And I have so many like key little things that I need to bring up as well. So after we do first thoughts, I've got like 3 things that I really, really want to mention that were amazing.
Yeah, the best episodes make you either want to cry or jump for joy. The dichotomy of the two reactions.
And I don't know why I said cry and weep. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing, but I wanted to do both.
You wanted to cry, weep, jump, and leap, and you covered it all.
Dr. Zeus.
yeah, right. Chris, what about you? Your overall thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it definitely felt like, of all the Bad Batch episodes that we've seen, this felt the most like Clone Wars season 8, I guess it would be. Like, because, you know, obviously you have that dynamic of the separatist versus the clones again, and then having the character of Cody in it. So I just felt like that was super interesting, because I wanted to see like how much this show would feel like a continuation of the Clone Wars. And there's been some moments where it very much did, and then some moments where it felt a little bit more kind of like Star Wars Rebels. And so I think this was definitely more of the kind of Clone Wars style of episode, based on many factors, including the characters and the situation. So I think that was really cool to see that kind of continued. This is the type of episode for me that got better as it continued. Like, it definitely had a bit of setup to it at the beginning, and then it slowly kind of got into the action and the tension of the episode. And it really didn't become great to me until the end, when you started seeing that it was to show that moment where Cody kind of realizes that there's something going on that, you know, he might not really be there for. And I felt like that was really important. And it's really a question that we've been asking ourselves for really since 2008, honestly, because it's like, we were always wondering, when we were presented with Rex and Cody, our big question was, okay, how are these two going to work with Order 66? We know that Cody does end up trying to kill Obi-Wan, but seeing how his relationship with Obi-Wan is built, just like they're showing the relationship between Rex and Ahsoka and Anakin, they're really setting it up for Cody to not be a villain, even through Order 66. And so I just had this question in the back of my mind for like well over 10 years. Like, what is going to happen to Cody after Order 66? And with all these relationships they're setting him up with, and the hero they're making him out to be in the Clone Wars, like, how can this guy support the Empire and fight for the Empire and become a stormtrooper. And so I very much felt like it was a trajectory that was kind of really set up for his character to go where it did. And so I think the strength of this episode for me is us finally being able to see that question answered that we've had for a lot of us, more than half of our entire lives, almost all of our entire lives, we've waited for this question to be answered, and it finally has. And that's what I think was the best part of the episode for me, and why I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, I think there's not going to be a ton of disagreement on this one. I agree. I think if you take Aftermath out of the equation, if you take the series premiere, which is basically a little mini movie, if you take that out of the equation, I think this for me is the best episode of the Bad Batch to date. And it's not, and honestly, it's not even close. Like it's so good on so many levels. And I really want to, I want to emphasize Saul Ruiz on this one, the director of the episode, because there's so much in this episode that feels fresh and vibrant and interesting. And, you know, I kind of felt like I knew the cinematic language of Star Wars animation. And then this episode comes along and gets you, and just, it was showing me stuff in ways I wasn't expecting to see it. There were some really interesting shot choices that just felt like they were out of something live action rather than out of something animated. The way the episode uses color is just terrific. The at the end of the episode, like some of those last shots of Crosshair, those are basically black and white shots. Like everything that's on Coruscant, everything that's Imperial based is it could be in grayscale. Like it's just basically black and white. And then you go
Cody himself.
And Cody himself, yeah. And you go to the the Separatist planet, and there's so much more color there, but it's all, oranges, it's all sunsets, it's it's the end of an era. So just terrific stuff. And again, and the sound design, the music, the writing, everything about this episode was on point. So just really one of the best, if you ask me. Let's start with let's start with Commander Cody. Let's start with our big guest star of the week here. Chris, I'll throw it over to you. What did you think of the way this episode handled Cody and his choices to leave the Empire?
I think it's, again, really fascinating to see how the clones there's this dichotomy of where they go, where some of them are embracing their individuality and embracing the values that they had in common with the Jedi during the Clone Wars, and are having problems with the way that the Empire is doing things, and then how some of the clones are just blindly following along with the Empire. It kind of is a dichotomy that was set up in the Clone Wars with characters like Slick and Dogma, for example, who were definitely not on the right side in situations that went down inside the Grand Army of the Republic. So I think it's really cool that they've shown the individuality of the clones to the point where they've shown that, some of the clones can be evil, some of them can be callous, and some of them can follow orders and just be a good soldier, even when it's pretty clear morally they're in the wrong. And I think it's so interesting that they're continuing to show that even at this point, when they're being replaced by the stormtroopers, there's still clones that are holding out, that want to serve the Empire, and then there's still clones that are questioning them. I think it's a really interesting conundrum. I hope that this kind of story plot of clones kind of having this internal debate about, what side they should serve, I hope it continues, because it's incredibly interesting. So going to Cody specifically, I think he's a great character to choose to be an example of someone who is going to go along with the morality that we see in the Jedi, and that really strong sense of individuality and making choices, and kind of going along with what Rex did and what a lot of the members of the 501st did, because he was very much in a group with all of those people, like with Anakin, with Obi-Wan, with Ahsoka, with Rex, with the 501st. Like Cody worked with them so much. It makes sense that, you know, he would have some similar views as them and would react to some things in some similar ways. I think they kind of rub off on each other, and there's this contagiousness of positivity that they have. So I think it's really fascinating that they put him in this situation where he has to, you know, choose between, you know, doing what's good for the future of the Empire versus what's actually right. Like, I think this is a great way to construct a plot to clearly kind of show what he's made of, clearly make him have to force him to make a moral choice. Like, I think that was great. And then obviously having him put up against Crosshair and those two characters directly compared, I think it was really great to have that situation with those two characters being put up against each other like that and compared. I think that was really good writing too. So yeah, Cody's really interesting, and I'm of course curious to see. They have a lot of ways they can go now writing, because right now, you know, they have a character that's out there, that's AWOL apparently, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you got to think that at some point he's probably going to start linking up with some of the other clones that are defectors as well, and that's going to be super, super interesting.
Where is Cody? Is he safe? Is he all right?
Ben, that's what you've been asking for years, right? You've just been wondering, where is he? Is he all right?
Yeah.
And who else wants to jump in on talk about Cody?
Go ahead, Anna.
Cody. I think a key thing that you mentioned there, Chris, is that this is definitely something I didn't really pick up on literally until I saw this episode of that idea of Cody was around all these people like Anakin, Ahsoka, and Kenobi, like for so much of his life, that he would have just naturally started to like kind of connect and think similarly to how they think as well. And I think particularly Kenobi. I think of that episode on Ryloth. Is it Rescue on Ryloth? And with Luma? What's the little girl's name in the Waxer and Boil? Is Cody there? Cody's there, right?
Yeah.
Innocence of Ryloth. Cody's there, but
his battalion.
And he's with Kenobi. And I think, you know, Obi-Wan always had that kind of very empathetic, compassionate presence towards civilians and towards people. And when he interacted with civilians of any planet, he was always like really gentle and soft and very caring. And I really felt that presence with Cody, obviously with those couple of moments he shared with as they're walking through the stairs and he comes across that like mother and child there. And he was so gentle with them, being like, it's all right. We're not here to hurt you. And like, you know, trying to kind of be really kind and compassionate towards them. I really was like, oh, that's like really something Kenobi would say or everyone would say. When coming into this, I really we knew Cody was going to be in the season, but I was like 50-50 on whether he was going to be bad or good. I didn't know which way they would take him, but I'm really glad that this is the way, and that it looks like he's defecting in terms of like he's rejecting what the Empire stands for, and it makes sense that he is, because he's too nice. He's too nice of a guy to stand for what the Empire is.
He's always a good dude, that Cody.
Right.
The funny thing about Cody, I got to thinking today, was the fact that, you know, the Clone Wars has got us so worked into the idea of all these clones having names and whatever. I think clones having names was something that was introduced in Revenge of the Sith, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody, I believe, is like only the second clone ever to like be introduced to us with a name. I think Oddball was probably the first. And Cody also seemed to be the first clone in the entire galaxy to execute Order 66. Like old Sheev called him first. I think because Sheev was just like, finally, I'm going to kill Kenobi. I've been trying to do it for 20 years. Yes. And the time has come, and he's doing this whole thing. And it really seems like Sheev called everybody else kind of like a blast, like a voicemail, like execute Order 66. It was just one big thing. Whereas he specifically called Cody the first one. And Cody's the first clone. We know Order 66 as this like shatter point of a moment in the galaxy. This one moment we've seen from tons of different perspectives now, but that was the first time we saw it. We understood like, okay, here's where it all goes down. Here's where all the fall of the Jedi happens. And to all these years later to come back to Cody after this, because we haven't known. And since he was in that one scene where he's like, did you find Kenobi and all this kind of stuff? He fell in the hole, whatever else. Now we're getting his perspective on this. And it felt like in this episode that maybe there's maybe it's almost like this unspoken thing. Like none of the clones really want to talk about what happened. They're all being that they're clones. They're literally all the same person, but in spite of that, they're also different. And they also have these different opinions about things. Because they're so unique, they are all, figuring this out. And I think they all have different points of view on this. And I think they're all trying to feel each other out. It feels like Cody walks into the situation, especially with Crosshair going, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know what I did to Kenobi. I don't know what happened. And I still don't know how I feel about it. And he's just like, I heard that the rest of Clone Force 99, went AWOL. And he's like, you're not surprised. He's like, no, not really, whatever else. And he goes through episode, and it seems like his decision at the end of the episode is just confirmed through this episode, that he really wasn't on board. And just the idea of him coming to the end of this episode going like, are we making the galaxy a better place? Like that's a good thing. And for Crosshair, it's not a question. He's just like, good soldiers follow orders, whatever, and Cody's like going through the motions of things. And this goes back to the Umbara arc. Rex going like, what's the point of all this? Why are we doing all this? What is happening here? And the fact the clones questioning their existence, questioning their role in society, questioning their role in the war. Now the war is over and they're still fighting. They're still doing all this. And I love his speech at the end going like, enough people have died. Enough people, we've just not started another war. And, him laying down his weapon. Like, where have we seen that before? Hauser, doing the same thing. Luke freaking Skywalker laid down his weapon and was like, nah, I'm not going to fight anymore. Like, Cody did it first.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi is just a big reference back to this episode. That's what George was thinking.
That's what Luke Skywalker was thinking. Luke Skywalker was like, yeah, I remember this guy Cody. I was told about the tales of Commander Cody, and he laid down his weapon. I'm going to do the same.
Tales of Commander Cody. That is a Marvel comic waiting to happen. I love that scene you were referencing, Ben, where he's talking to Crosshair, and you realize later that he's kind of trying to feel Crosshair out, trying to see where he stands on the whole Order 66 sequence, because he does say, he's like, yep, good soldiers follow orders. And it's a great scene because when you watch it again, it has a completely different meaning. Like the first time you watched it, it's just two people that haven't seen each other in a long time catching up and getting caught up on what's been going on in their lives. When you watch it again, you can tell that Cody's trying to see, is Crosshair, is this somebody who I can trust, who will go along with me if I choose to walk away? And he realizes, no, he's not. And he gets a much more visceral answer later on in the episode when Crosshair shoots the separatist governor. But yeah, and you mentioned the names as well. Vice Admiral Rampart. He never refers to the clones by their name. He always calls them by their number. And the only time he does, when he says about Cody, he says, Cody went AWOL. He says Cody with this just such derision and almost like he's mocking the clones for having their identities. It's like, you're all the same person. Yeah, it's Cody. Sure, Cody went AWOL here. So yeah.
What was the name? There was two clones that Cody referenced, spoke
and
to
something.
Nova
and something.
Nova? I thought it was Nova.
Nova.
I'll have to look at the.
You thought it was Noah?
Okay, you're okay. You asked the question. I'm gonna find out.
I was like,
I'm gonna find out.
I think one of them was Nova. That sounds familiar.
Nova. Yeah, that sounds like a clone name.
Nova and like and like Flip or something. Nova and
Those sound like Nova and Flip. That sounds like clone names.
Yeah, it really does.
Right? I don't think it was, but yeah, this could be.
Yeah. But also, Cody's line of, you know what makes us different from battle droids. We make our own choices, our decisions, our own decisions, and we have to live with them too. And
oh yeah, that was deep.
Yeah, again, the performance from D. Baker, the way he says that, you can just read so much into it. There's so much there. This is, like you, Hannah, I wasn't sure what to expect from Commander Cody. I thought he might be the villain in this. I thought he might show up and be the enemy. Because you say Rex and Cody. I always saw Cody as, he's the more straight-laced one. He's the one that he's gonna follow the directions more strictly, whereas Rex was the one who was with Anakin, and so he was more inclined to break rules and go off on his own and do his own thing, whereas Cody was a little bit more by the book. And so I could see a version of this story where Cody shows up and he's the one hunting down the clones that go AWOL. But it's much more impactful to have him be, have him go AWOL at the end, because like everybody said, that's the impact that Obi-Wan has had on him. And Obi-Wan's a good person, and you like to think that he makes a positive impact on the people around him.
For the record, it's Weiler and Nova.
Weiler. Which I don't think we've had those guys before. I don't think we've.
No, this is their first appearance.
I don't think we'll see him again
either.
Got blowed up.
Yikes.
Yeah. So what's next? What do we think? Where do we think this Commander Cody goes from here? Having walked away, is he joining up with Captain Rex, or is he going fishing? Which
going fishing. Good. Yeah. Right. I have a very sinister theory that Rampart has told Crosshair that he's gone AWOL, Cody's off the chops down. We don't know where he's gone. He's just off he goes. Mm-hmm. I think he's told that to Crosshair and by nature, the audience, us. But the Empire actually have Cody in custody. And I think with especially Rampart, like knowing kind of that the Bad Batch are still alive, but not wanting anyone else to know it. I think he wants to maybe himself or have someone else study the inhibitor chip and see, like, maybe put Cody through some sort of like treatment and study him medically to be like, how does this inhibitor work? What did I just say?
Inhibitor? Yeah, the inhibitor hip.
Oh, the inhibitor hip? No. Oh God. How it works, and maybe if like Rampart can like use it more to his ability, like they did the thing where they enhanced Crosshair's chip. Like, how does that work? And I just got this theory that they have Cody for some reason still, or like maybe to entice Rex, and they know Rex will want to come get Cody, or the Bad Batch will come get Cody.
Yeah, I can see them using Cody as bait. I don't think though that I think Rampart, he's over the clones. I don't think
that's a good point. He probably doesn't care enough.
Yeah, he wants his army of recruits. I think the clones, as far as he's concerned, are yesterday's news. But using Cody as bait, I think could work, because Commander Cody was the guy who seemed to command respect across all allegiances in the Clone War, or amongst the clone army. Because if you go back to the Bad Batch arc of season 7, Rex and the Bad Batch initially start things off on kind of shaky terms, but the one thing they can all agree on is we respect Commander Cody. So if Commander Cody wants to do something, we'll go with what Commander Cody wants. So if people realize that Commander Cody's out there, he's being held by the Empire, that could certainly be a very enticing hostage for the Empire to take.
What I'm afraid of is that this show, I know the real world reason, obviously, because this show was made well after the events of the making of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. But I feel like this show may be trying to tell us why there are no clones in those movies, why there are almost none. And I feel like the Bad Batch may tell a more darker story about, we don't know what the Empire is going to do. They may not just throw the clones away. They may do something to them in the process. Or it could be that the Empire, as they often do, underestimates the will of the clones and says, throw these guys away. And the clones are like, not only do we not be any part of this, but we're actually going to fight you.
I'd love a proper clone uprising. I think that would be. I think we spent a lot of time in season 1 speculating that might be where the season was going, and that it would happen on Kamino.
I think that's where the series overall is going.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, and we see in this episode, we see the way the Empire's treating the clones, and those scenes in the cafeteria area there, like those scenes are depressing and sinister in their own way. Because even if you just go back to the very first episode, where we see the clone lunchroom on Kamino, and there's the food fight with Omega and everything, even before the food fight, it seemed like everybody was there. It was very full. There was lots of clones around. In this episode, it's pretty barren. There's not a lot of guys left, and the ones that are there are saying like, oh, they're going to vote on whether or not to replace us, essentially,
right?
In the Senate. And, more and more regs are going AWOL, and it's not just the rank and file, it's the commanders. We've seen Commander Cody do it. We've seen Hauser do it. There's going to, this is the days of the clone army in the Empire are numbered. The question is it just that they just get slowly weeded out and replaced by those, Ralph McQuarrie looking stormtroopers that we get in this episode? Or are we going to see some kind of pushback, some kind of fight back? And then what happens then?
Yeah, because this episode illustrates it kind of perfectly in regards to like in every, this is like the full on mix of on Coruscant, there's a mix of clones and I guess, for lack of a better term, the War Mantle troopers, and then you get on the last scene on that planet, and is like a full on like mostly War Mantle troopers with a few clones. It's just like, okay, the clones are officially on their way out.
Yeah, it's sort of like the clones are just being kept around to kind of bridge the gap. They're sent in because the War Mantle troopers show up at the beginning of the episode with Governor Whiny Face, and they fail. It backfires on them, and everybody gets captured. So they send in the clones to rescue the governor, and then they send in they have many more sort of prototype stormtroopers that they send in to actually do the subjugating, because the clones are really just there they're commandos at this point. They're not Republic commandos. They're not, the characters from the show, but they're just sent in to do the jobs that the regular.
They can actually do the job right. It's just if they want to do the job.
And the other thing to think about too is that in this particular job, they're fighting against battle droids and then ultimately droidicas and commando droids. Who's going to know how to do that better than the clones? The War Mantle troopers wouldn't have seen that action before.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, I think that, for the most part, the War Mantle troopers are going to, and a lot of the Imperial troopers, they're more there just to look intimidating than to do any actual fighting.
Volume.
Yeah. Speaking of the battle droids and fighting the Separatists, something that I found was really fun and kind of nice in this episode was how actually effective and intimidating the Separatist army felt. Because
when there's no Jedi around.
Yeah, exactly. and also, the Empire, kind of the bad guys, Separatists, kind of the bad guys. Now you have bad guys fighting bad guys. On Clone Wars, a not unreasonable criticism could be that the battle droids were, just cannon fodder. They weren't all that difficult for the heroes to go up against. Whereas in this episode, every version of the battle droids that the clones found themselves facing down with, they felt like they could actually do some damage. And you still got your battle droid humor. You had the really sassy one that went to the commander, and they did a high five at one point. So you had all that, but it felt like a more intimidating version of the droid army than we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing that really comedic, just get cut down by a Jedi and move on version. So it was nice to see.
And I don't know. Sorry, you go, Ben. You go.
No, please.
No, you, Ben. No, oh jeez, oh jeez.
Go.
Let's talk.
No, I was going to mention I forget who it was, but how did they forget droidicas? You don't throw it. You got to roll it slowly. Did you learn
Amateur
nothing
move.
from the Ondara arc?
Out of
my
practice.
God.
Amateur
Ondara?
move,
What did I say?
Weiler.
I keep making up words today. Ondara? That's not it.
Yeah. Onderon.
Onderon.
Yeah.
Onderon. There we go.
Onderon, Undambara. You smash them together. You get Ondara.
Just that same thing. But you got to roll it slow.
If you ship 2 planets, you get Ondara.
Yeah.
You ship
Right.
Onderon.
And actually,
Undambara.
that concept was in. Was it not in that Geonosian one with Kiadamundi? Where
Geonosis.
they're on top of the wall. Geonosis, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Top
they
of the
got
wall,
it
and they're
right.
trying to put it in
Under
slow.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you gotta do it slow.
Clones haven't watched enough Clone Wars, apparently.
Right? That's what I was like. Oh, come on, get up with your arcs, guys.
But like droidicas, I think have never been more terrifying. Just the fact of you hear them.
Yeah,
Before
so
you
good.
see them, the sound effects. Shout out to David Collins who's doing
Dave
all the sound
Collins,
effects.
yeah.
Like the guy's a real MVP of the sound, and like the way it's like, and you hear one coming, like, oh, you know this, like they know that sound, and they're in close quarters, like they're right in like things, and that's was like so terrifying. There's nowhere for them to go. They just roll up. They just pop out of nowhere.
So
And then
having some
and then when they-
Battlefront 2 flashbacks, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's like terrifying. But then like I love that like they like finally defeat them and they hear the sound again and like nope, they're like out of there. Like, no, we're not even gonna stick around and find out where that's coming from.
Yeah. The commando droids too were just fantastic in this episode.
Yes, that was
The
amazing.
whole fight in the stairwell, going
Yeah.
up the spiral staircase.
Well
Oh,
done.
so good, and bringing back the puck things for Crosshair to shoot and bounce.
The
his
trick
shots
shots.
off. Yeah.
Crosshair, my goodness, like he shows how good he is. Like he is the real MVP of the Bad Batch, and he's not even part of the Bad Batch now. Like, but he is like he's so good at his job. It's scary. And I think that's why, especially in season 1, it made him such a terrifying villain, is that he was very effective. He wasn't some one note they were gonna get over on him every time. Like he could kill you, and he would kill you. And in this episode, he's the boss. Like that one
Cold-blooded.
shot down the barrel of that tank.
Oh,
Like
so cool.
Yes.
like I love watching it. You're like, oh, Crosshair, you keep like missing. Like, why are you doing that? I know you can hit that, and then it's just like, oh, I see what you're doing. Boom.
Yeah,
Smart.
yeah. Episode's so good, so good. The action's great, so well shot, so good. Let's talk a little bit about Crosshair, because this is really this is the Crosshair episode. After we got the rest of the batch last week, Hannah, I'll throw it to you. What did you make of the way they introduced Crosshair in season 2 in this episode?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting approach they're taking with him, because obviously setting him in this scene, we see him and he looks tired, he looks exhausted and worn out, and then we find out he was stranded from the finale of season 1 of Bad Batch on Kamino, on that platform, for 32 rotations. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, a rotation is a day in
Believe
Star Wars
so.
talk.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is one of those
That's,
things
that,
where
but that's a
Or-
day on
or just-
Camino, so like
Yeah, that could be
24
longer
hours
in
ish. I don't
Earthquakes.
know.
this is one of those
Yeah.
one of those Star Wars things where they're like, we made up a new word for something that doesn't need a new word. Why are we just calling it a rotation? Call it a day. We all know what that means. BBY all over again.
But
Yeah,
but
right?
just saying I was stuck on Camino for 32 days doesn't sound as cool.
Yeah,
suppose.
it's like rotations was more menacing, but and you're kind of in those moments you go, oh bud, oh yeah, how you doing? And it was very like
Well,
what
he
we were saying
chose to
before,
be
the coloring
there,
was
I
very
mean.
bleak. I guess so, right? So it's like, but that's the point I think I'm making, is like, oh, you kind of feel bad for him because we know Crosshair quite well at this point, but also he is still like actively choosing to like, no, I'm gonna kill civilians if it's for the name of the Empire. You're like, ooh, yeah, like this is not the good guy. So yeah, I like how they presented him to be this really a sympathetic villain that you kind of want to turn, but he's not really going that way by the end of the episode, at least. But yeah, great portrayal of. I think they just portrayed him so well in this episode with coloring and music perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he starts off, he's completely isolated. He's by himself in that room. It seems like he can't sleep. Like he's haunted by, everything that's gone down. And again, that scene in the cafeteria, he goes to sit at that table with those other two clones and they get up and leave.
Right? So like, that's so sad. Like that's the start of every like bullied kid in like an American like kind of movie about school. Like it's just like that. Oh no, don't leave him. Oh
yeah. And so like he seems so he's down on his luck. He's all by himself. He's living this terrible life. He was stranded for 32 rotations. And then he gets this little bit back. He gets to work with Commander Cody, and that goes well. And then he starts to realize, oh, Cody and I might not be on the same wavelength. Good soldiers follow orders, or do they? Or do good soldiers try and find a peaceful solution to the fighting? And then at the end of the episode, he loses Cody. Cody's gone AWOL. So now he's stuck working with some other guy who probably is not going to like him. And he's just kind of stuck. It's almost like he seems like he feels trapped by his decisions. He's trapped by his choices. And so now he's just, stuck being a war criminal. He can't run off. He doesn't feel he can run off and rejoin the Bad Batch. And, the Batch gave him that choice at the end of last season, and he chose not to. And you kind of wonder what happens when he sees them again, or is Crosshair kind of wishing he'd made a different choice, kind of wishing he could go back to that landing platform on Kamino 32 rotations ago and say to Hunter, all right, let's go. Coming in.
I don't think so. I think Crosshair is like Darth Maul. And the way his character is being written.
He's locked in,
Yeah, he's locked in. He's just going to have to die at some point. It's just a matter of when.
Man.
I don't know. I think
Omega's going to have to kill him.
This episode, I don't know. It
gave me... good soldiers follow order, bitch. And shoot him with his,
man.
crossbow.
Oh God! Oh, this is I'm not ready for season 8 of Bad Batch. Jeez. This episode really though, it did give me the tiniest little hope for Crosshair, just a little bit. That ending scene where Cody is like, are we really making the galaxy better? Are we doing this? And the fact that like, Crosshair has to listen to that. He doesn't really have a response to it. And, he has to think and just keeping going back to, alone. Like he doesn't even have Cody anymore. Like his last friend in the Empire has gone. Rampart certainly isn't his friend. And, it goes back to the whole thing in the episode. The fact is that like he is a loner. He's an odd man out. He is a solitary clone, if you will, in the clone army, in this Imperial machine. And, he's got to live with that. He has no friends, and he also has to live with, answer that question. It's not about following orders. We're not droids. We're clones. We're people. We're supposed to make decisions. Mm-hmm. Can you honestly say yes to the question, are we making the galaxy better? I want to hear that conversation, because in season 1, it was firmly established and you understood where he was coming from. Like, yes, you felt you were wronged by the Batch. You felt like the Batch, Hunter, Tech, all those guys, they betrayed you. When you get past all that, are you doing it right? Can you continue to, justify all your actions just because someone did you wrong? And that's classic villains. But at the end of the day, how long can he continue to do that?
And we were just talking with Cody, that there might be. It seems like we might be leaning towards some kind of clone uprising. Where does Crosshair fall in that? Because he's the other thing about Crosshair is more so than even the rest of the Bad Batch. I think this guy feels isolated from the regs. He doesn't really the way he
Regs
says,
don't like him.
Yeah, the way he says Regs compared to the way the rest of the Bad Batch says Regs, he says it's like dripping with disdain and hatred. He doesn't like it, the Regs. Whereas Wrecker and Hunter and Tech say Regs. They're like, yeah, that's just the guys who aren't like us. So
yeah,
you know,
sure.
who does he fight for? If Vice Admiral Rampart says, kill that clone over there, who does Crosshair fight for? I don't know. It's a fascinating question. I think the Darth Maul comparison, Chris, is really interesting because I'm thinking about how Darth Maul's story ends with him and Obi-Wan at the campfire on Tatooine. Like, you know, he dies, and Maul, as he's dying, is like begging Kenobi for a little bit of hope, and Kenobi does give him some. And you know,
he will avenge us.
He will avenge us, yeah. Which, like, sort of, but yeah, you're dying, man. We'll give you that one. We'll give you.
We're
that
in the
one.
same boat.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, avenge. Yeah. Last, we will
All
have
right,
our
buddy.
yes. At last, we will have our revenge. Good. Now die. I wonder, like, is there a heroic? Could there be a heroic sacrifice for Crosshair? Could there be, you know, a last minute sort of redemption, or does he have to die the villain? It's really interesting. I don't know the answer to it. Obviously, we'll find out eventually. Nobody knows except maybe,
either die a hero.
Yeah, I think really the only people that might know this, Brendan Auman, Jennifer Corbett, Matt Michnovitz, you guys might know, and they're not.
There is obviously there's a precedent in Star Wars of villains realizing they're wrong 5 minutes before they die. So you know, it's definitely it could go that way. I hope it's not that on the nose. I hope you know, Crosshair can, you know, have some atonement and also, you know, kind of have some real redemption, as in maybe do some good things and save some lives instead of taking them before he dies.
Yeah. Well, you wonder, you know, we talked about, you know, Obi-Wan's impact on a character like Commander Cody. Maybe seeing what Cody did, maybe he doesn't appreciate it in the moment, but maybe he'll appreciate it later. Again, I think this is a guy that's haunted by everything that he's seen and done. And, you know, at some point, does he go, maybe I don't want to go and join the Bad Batch, but maybe I want to stop fighting. Maybe I want out of this part of my life. And maybe he looks to what Cody did and says, okay, maybe a version of that could work for me. I don't know.
Or what happens when the Empire ultimately betrays him, or at least throws him away when they don't need him anymore.
Yeah.
Because that time will come.
Yeah. It is only a matter of time. And I think Rampart's made that very clear in the last couple of episodes. Also, Vice Admiral Rampart is really setting himself up to be the main villain for this season.
Oh yeah.
It will be so satisfying, I'm sure, when he gets a blaster bolt through the head at the end of the season. Let's talk a little bit about this separatist planet, this surviving separatist planet that we get, because we're introduced to their governor, Tawny Ames, friend of Mina Bonteri, and
yes,
yeah,
best mention of a character, Mina Bonteri. I was so thrilled. That was like the highlight of the episode to me.
also great admirer of Count Dooku. So really just all around makes great choices. Ben, I'll throw it to you. What'd you make of this character and just of this planet as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, again, gorgeous environment. Not the most like welcoming environment. I think it would have been easy to like make this, it's nice and cheerful, place, and the Empire's coming to ruin it. Like, it's not the best. I think, it's also a good reminder the Separatists weren't the best people either. They weren't necessarily the bad guys, quote unquote, but they were just the other side of the coin. And yeah, she's admirer of Count Dooku, which Mina Bonteri was, and the guy that we literally established last episode was not a great dude, not kind of a corrupt dude. So I liked that, she name drops him, and she name drops Mina Monteri, and we get this really interesting character that I think we all saw her death coming from a mile away, but still hurt because I think, this is the first you could have easily seen this person, fighting alongside Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and people like that. These person could have easily been, had they played their cards correctly, because the Imperial governor, as much of a sniveling coward as he is, he's not wrong. He tells her straight up, you're not going to win this.
Are you saying the Empire had some good ideas? Is that what you're getting at here?
They were going to save the galaxy for the Yuuzhan Vong.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad theory. Look, okay, don't say, and say you're going to paint me as some Imperial apologist, and that'll get blown out of proportion. Next thing you know, I'll get canceled. It's going to go out things. I'm not going to continue down this. I'm not going to bait your trap. Anyway, yes, I think it's sad because this is kind of, it's weird. Again, we are following this lineage of the rebellion. This we see in Andor just a few months ago, where kind of it seems like the rebellion really kicks off at that funeral. And, yes, there's stuff happening there. But then you could go way back to this episode where you have people going no, leave us alone. We don't want part of your empire. We're going to stand up against you. We're going to do whatever it takes. And obviously failing because they are fighting alone, but still rebelling against the empire. And kind of obviously draws that comparison to the fact that, the separatists and the rebellion, they were kind of on the same side the entire time. They were just using, real people instead of robots. That's the whole thing. So I like this idea. I like this planet. And it's really sad to see at the end, the place just crawling with Imperial troopers, and just this is reality for so many worlds, and it will be for the next 18 years. It's not good.
I think it has to be a Clone Wars fortune cookie that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. There has to be one that says that, because I swear it's the perfect thing for the Clone Wars.
For sure.
So I'm sure one of them said that. Which episode was that? It's probably an
I feel like that's
episodes of something.
It's probably one of those the little saying they have at the opening of every episode.
Yeah, that's what I said when I say fortune cookie. That's what those.
Oh my god, that's what that is. That what you call them? Oh my god.
I don't know if that's what they're officially called, but we began to call it those in discourse.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It's the discursive description.
This is the generational gaps between the hosts. There aren't many. We're starting to see them a little bit here.
It's cracking. It's a cracking.
It's normal to us, but anybody outside that bubble is fortune cookie, isn't that something you eat?
Yes. So
that's your impression of our listeners.
Help! I'm trapped in a fortune cookie factory. I finally got to see that episode of that season finale of Rick and Morty with the big Star Wars reference in it, and that was pretty funny.
Nice.
That just aired.
No idea.
Yeah, nice. There was a big Star Wars reference in the last episode, the Christmas episode.
Cool.
Ben, did you figure it out? Have we stalled long enough?
No. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Season 4, episode 22, Revenge.
That makes sense.
Shout out to Skywalking Through Neverland. They have the complete list of Clone Wars fortune cookies on their website. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe it's the term. Oh my god, I am out of it.
So
generational gap.
So anyway, back to the statement, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I really feel like that describes a lot of the separatists and their relationships to Dooku. I don't really know if they normally would be friends with Dooku, but because he's an enemy of the Republic and the Republic is their enemy, he becomes their friend. Because I think that there's this huge separatist to Rebel Alliance pipeline that's happening here, where, they're just against the oppressive, corrupt, centralized power, whatever that might be. And, very often it's mentioned by these planets that are, neutral or want to be neutral. They're like, we don't care if it's clones or stormtroopers or how long until I'm fighting you, Jedi. And like there's all of those all of that sentiment that it's just all one big thing on Coruscant. And this kind of episode just plays a little bit more into that concept there. And so that always fascinates me, that idea that there's nuance, that heroes on both sides nuance to the war, that, so a lot of the separatists aren't necessarily bad. They're just aligning with bad people because they have a common bad enemy. And there just happens to be good people fighting for the bad enemy because they don't realize that they're bad until...
To bring it back to Mina Bonteri. I mean, you go back to that episode with heroes on both sides.
Yeah.
She speaks fondly of Dooku, and Padme says, "Oh God, I forgot you admire the man." And they have to kind of agree to disagree about Count Dooku. Now, of all people to start saying nice things about Count Dooku to. Padme Amidala would probably not be high on the list, seeing as he, kidnapped her and, tried to murder her several times, tied her to a giant stake, and had several beasts try to eat her in front of a live audience.
She seems to be on top of things.
Yeah. Generally, her and, people who go through that don't have kind opinions of the person who did that to them. Anyways, but yeah, I just... It's really interesting that this is episode 3 of season 2. And we've had 3 references to Count Dooku. All the episodes have referenced Count Dooku.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. And
this is coming off of Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Focusing half of its season on Count Dooku.
Yeah. We're getting a much fuller picture of the man that is Count Dooku.
The legend.
The man. Yeah, honestly, we're seeing Count Dooku. We've seen Count Dooku as, kind of the hero, the hero with bad ideas in Tales of the Jedi, someone who we sympathize with and we kind of agree with in Tales of the Jedi. And then we see him last week as kind of the tyrant. Here's this man with all this treasure. And then this week we're talking about him kind of as a martyr almost. And so you're getting this, this just, I don't know. It's interesting that we're getting kind of a fuller picture of Count Dooku in this show where he's dead than we ever did on the show where he was alive, where he was very much the mustache twirling villain.
Yeah, he was such a foil and a cardboard character in the Clone Wars. It was like one of the things that I wish the Clone Wars, and perhaps if it had gone on for more seasons, maybe they would have gotten into it. But the Clone Wars didn't really get deep into.
I wonder if that's a George thing. I wonder if George just wasn't interested in that character and just decided to, he's just the villain.
He kept coming up with other villains to flesh out more. Here's Survival Oppressed. Here's Darth Maul. Here's General Grievous. Here,
even Grievous. I feel like Grievous and Dooku are kind of 2 characters that George is like, well, I need a character just, keep it, fight the heroes until Darth Vader comes along. So we'll just have these guys.
Dooku's lair.
Yeah. And so we just kind of George wasn't interested, so those episodes didn't do anything with him. And now that George is out of the picture, all of us who are like, no, actually there's some interesting little tidbits about this character. Can we dive into that? Dave Filoni's going, yes, we can. I've been wanting to do this since 2006. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting here.
Dave is like calling up George, leaving him voicemails. Guess what? I'm giving more layers to Count Dooku, and you can't stop me.
George is like, I'm in my garage making a movie nobody's ever gonna see, so I don't care.
It's about Jar Jar Binks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Good stuff. That's about everything I wanted to bring up about the episode. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we hit some of our classic segments and start winding
do
down
all
the
of your
discussion?
points, Hannah. You said I have 3 points.
Yeah. I think 1 was Mina Bonteri.
Yeah.
Forget the other 2. Oh, Soup Guy, of course. If you follow me on Twitter, I brought that up and I saw you guys retweet it. Soup Guy making an appearance, or is that Soup Guy 2.0? Dominic, are you not familiar with Soup Guy?
No, I'm unfamiliar. Who is Soup Guy?
You unmean man. Oh my god.
Generational
from
gap.
last season.
Yeah,
Generational gap. It's showing. It's showing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
No.
All right. Us boomers don't know about
Yeah.
Seekell, apparently.
Okay, boomer.
Get up with the Gen Omegas. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Friggin' millennials were the worst. Okay.
Yeah, for season 1, when they have the Bad Batch have like that food fight, you literally mentioned it before, the food fight.
Yeah.
And there was the Snoop guy that was like really way too enthused about his like tray of food, and he's got a bowl of soup, and he's
biggest
like,
grin on his face. Just,
Yeah, and
just
he's
Google
just super
Bad Batch
excited.
soup clone. Just Google
He's in
it.
the background,
you
and
will
he's just
see
like-
so much.
he's excited about his soup. How did you miss this, dude? Wow.
Sometimes
There's
you just
whole
forget
meme
things.
pages devoted to this legendary clone.
Yes, soup guy.
All right, I'm looking
And
it
I-
up now. Give me a second.
Okay, all right. And so soup guy, I'm like, I can't remember what happened to that soup guy. Like, is he dead, or is this the same soup guy? And like, this is his character arc where he was really excited about his soup in season 1.
Kamino.
Oh well, they got like moved. Everyone got like moved before it got blended. So he was really
Okay,
excited
yeah.
about soup in the first season, but then this season he's in the same like barracks as Crosshair, and that's the arc of the clones. They're not as happy anymore. They're not as enthusiastic,
up-
and he's because he was very like he's very sad about his soup now. He's just sitting there going, "Oh, I gotta eat this soup," and he's not that excited anymore. So that's my theory. We're getting a character
I just
arc
went
of
to
Soup
Google.
Man.
I just went to Google. I just Googled soup clone, and the first thing that pops up is Stu, a clone gunner from the episode. It's from the Boba Fett episode. His name is
Oh my
Stu.
god, Stu! Oh, that's so good.
That
That should have been Soup Guy's name.
Yeah, I see it now. I did know
See it?
about this guy. I just forgot about him.
Yeah.
Soup
So
Guy,
happy.
yes.
Soup guy.
He's
They took away
stupid
his
hype
happy.
for Soup Day.
Yeah.
I want his outlook on life. It's
Yeah.
so good. Soup.
Good stuff.
That was my last point. That was
That was
all.
last
I
point.
forget the other point.
Okay. Chris, anything else? Ben, anything else, or is it time for everybody's favorite segment?
I've already
do
got
it.
my anything else.
Okay, well then, in that case, you know what time it is. You know it. You love it. It's time for Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. All right, Ben, take it away. It's time. What you got?
Not much. But I got a couple things. So I already mentioned the whole the parallels between laying down your weapons and Star Wars characters doing it a lot, and we got 2 clones doing it in this show. I think that's pretty cool. I like that little motif.
It's a
So
thematic
at the
connection
end,
corner.
yeah, at the end of the episode, Rampart mentions that Crosshair has been reassigned to a new commander, a CC 1224. So I'm like, oh, this I gotta look this up. I gotta figure out who this is. So I did some research. I found out that, oh my gosh, this is a completely new clone. Doesn't have a name or anything. Just created for this episode. So nobody knew. Nobody we knew before.
Wait, would this become our
Shocking.
first?
The connection is to nothing.
Will this become our first clone commander then, without a name ever?
Yeah. Oh, well, how do we
Possibly.
know it's not?
We
how do
don't
it's not
know
Stu?
his name. We don't know his name because Rampart didn't give his name.
What if he doesn't have a name?
The clone with no name.
What if he's a
I
shiny?
mean, they're not making new clones after the Clone Wars.
What if he's
so-
the last clone? One of the last clones that was made.
Ooh,
Wow.
there we go.
And he has
Who
no
is the
name.
last clone? Who is the last
Omega.
clone?
I always assumed it was Omega.
No, I thought Omega was the first clone.
Yeah,
one
she
of
was
the
number-
Alpha.
She was number 2. It was
Oh, yeah,
Boba.
yeah,
But
then
Boba.
Alpha is Boba, and they were graded together, weren't they?
Alpha,
Yeah.
Omega.
Where's
And-
Beta? Where's Gamma? Where's Delta? Where's
Where's
Epsilon?
Zeta?
Well,
Where's
that
Zeta?
Delta Squad.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're the
they're
they're the fourth
scattered out through the
batch.
yeah, they're all the clones.
We already talked about it, but you got a nice further name drop of Dooku, name drop of Mina Bonteri, great, and also a reminder that Lux Bonteri is out there somewhere.
He's gonna be I'm such a big conspiracy theorist on Lux Bonteri, coming up in like Mando.
I would bet money on Lux showing up in the show at some point, even this season possibly.
Doesn't Lux show up in like one of the Battlefront novels?
Yes, he does.
Back me up on this. Yeah.
He's in there. He's in the entire book, and you don't find out it's him until like the last page. Spoiler alert!
Wow.
Well, book's been out for like 5 years. It's fine.
Yeah. Good book. Maybe I can't remember.
This is your trivia champion, folks.
That's good.
I can't remember my opinion on the book. I can remember every detail of it, but I can't remember my opinion on it. Okay,
Chris, it's Inferno Squad, not Twilight Company.
This is why I lost.
That's why I kept second place in trivia. I got the book titles.
Generational is showing once again.
There you go.
Hey, look, of all of us, I fall most in the middle of this generational gap.
You're the average.
Right.
Yeah, you're the median.
True.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm the alpha.
Yeah.
I'm the am I the Omega then?
Yes, you're the.
Wait,
no.
Yeah.
I Ben, I don't know what Greek letter you are, and I'm somewhere in the middle. Whatever.
Squad.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. I don't know why this is happening. I'm just gonna keep going. Years ago, I made a tweet. I know it was a good tweet because I know people have mentioned it since this happened. So I'm just gonna say, because I made a lot of bad tweets. So the whole thing about Disney in particular, the new era of Star Wars has done exceptionally well with doing really cool things with Star Destroyers in atmosphere. Like we got, the one over Jeddah. I can't think of any others right now, but I know there's been plenty. But this episode gave us a really great one. One of the last shots, I think, just seeing that Venator just hovering over that planet at the end. Just, obviously it's always just this ominous look into, what the Empire is capable of, and also just the looming threat of this new Empire that's coming in, and it's like what Lando says in Empire Strikes Back. It's looming like a shadow over everything. It's great. Another shot to add to that very impressive list. And finally, this is something I mentioned. I didn't mention. I noticed right off the bat the first time I watched the episode, because I kept hearing it. I'm like, am I crazy? No, I'm not. You all know the clone theme. The da 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 da. It keeps showing up in this thing, but it never finishes.
Yes.
You keep hearing it. Yes. I know. You see, I'm not the only person that noticed this, because it keeps showing up and it goes da 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 da, and it just drops off. And it's just this powerful note, and it's like this thing of like, this is so triumphant. This is the clones kind of at their best, doing their thing. They're going in there, getting the job done. But they're not the good guys anymore. They're not fighting for the right reasons. And I love that. The Kiners are freaking geniuses doing this, showing, just this all, giving us this motif that we're so familiar with, but doing it in a way that immediately it sets you off. It kind of catches you off guard, and it makes you uncomfortable. You're like, I want to hear the whole thing. But it's not supposed to be comforting. It's supposed to be, supposed to be discomfort.
It's mirroring what's happening to the clones. It's getting phased out. The end of it is getting phased out.
Just lose a note every
Yes.
See, this is what happens when you let an actual musician analyze the music instead of Ben trying to stumble his way through
just
it.
like, but I heard the music and it went away.
Started, then it stopped it, and then they're no more there. Oh no, that was good though. That was good.
And that thus concludes Ben's Connections Corner.
Well, Matthew Hardy in the chat has one more. Governor Ames was voiced by Asia Valenza. This third character she's voiced after Shakti in the Clone Wars, and Vanessa Doza in Resistance. But yeah, Ben, you pulled it together there at the end. It was a little dicey.
First of all, thank you, Matthew, for your submission. But you're gonna get by it first time. Next time, do not do that again. Okay, you clear this with me first before you butt in on my Connections Corner. Okay, don't do that again.
Okay, so this Ben's Connection Corner has included.
This is Ben's. It's not anybody's Connections Corner. It's Ben's Connection Corner.
This has included
What
Ben.
do you guys think this is?
Making connections to nothing, connections to his own tweets, and now he's berating the audience. This is what you get when you tune in. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience, and apparently he hates that studio audience.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's hit a couple of super chats here. Hold on, Ben. There's another member of the audience for you to berate. Joel says, here's a connection in case Ben misses it. The facility we see on Coruscant where Crosshair was designed by director Krennic.
Wow. How does he know that?
Don't know. But
generational gap, man.
Generational gap.
The youngins know about it.
Yeah. I feel like I wish we had episode titles for our shows, because this episode would be called Generational Gap.
That'll be our fortune cookie. That's our fortune cookie.
There it is.
Now that I've learned that term.
Another super pet chat from Joel. Dark ending for Crosshair. He becomes the first Death Trooper.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that. Yeah, that would be cool. Also says, love the direction they're taking Cody in canon and Legends. He just kind of became a grumpy drill sergeant training incompetent stormtroopers.
Wow.
Yeah.
True.
I think this is much better. And he also says, I feel like all the cartoons suffer from an identity crisis, either a continuation of the Clone Wars or it's being its own thing. I always side with it's being its own thing rather than continuing the Clone Wars.
I feel like Resistance was its own thing.
I agree.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Never once did I think, this is the Clone Wars 5.0.
I feel like that the show he's describing is Rebels, because that's the show that I think was being pulled in two different directions. Whereas I think Bad Batch has been very open about the fact that it's a continuation of the Clone Wars.
And same with Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. It's like they're purposely extensions of the Clone Wars.
A couple of non-Bad Batch related super chats. Joel again doesn't expect Thrawn to show up in Mando season 3. I think he's going to be more prominent in Ahsoka as it's the de facto Rebels sequel. Yeah, not expecting him
at
in
the
season
beginning.
3. Yeah,
but 4, I agree with what Dom said. I think 4. Yeah,
season 4. Yeah, if anything, maybe a little teaser. They'd love to do their post-credit scenes these days. Maybe a little Thrawn.
Well, they're gonna take 2 random episodes out of the Mandalorian season 3 to just show something else randomly. So maybe it'll be the Ahsoka stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And finally, not sure if anyone mentioned it, but given how Book of Boba Fett played out, wonder if Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew will serve as Mandoverse seasons 4 and 5 before Mandalorian season 4 official. Yeah, probably. I think they're gonna.
They will.
I think Ahsoka will be like a big expansion of the Mandoverse, and I feel like not Tales of Jedi, but Skeleton Crew will be more like stories set within the Mandoverse that advance the story in smaller ways, but aren't like the big grand stuff. A little bit more Book of Boba Fettish, I think.
And then we find out that one of the characters is Kylo Ren. It's Ben Solo, and it's like the most important show ever. And that's why they gave it to that big director.
Exactly.
Made those giant movies that made billions of dollars.
Exactly. All right. Let's wrap things up for our discussion of the Bad Batch. We'll get to a couple news stories after that. Oh,
I have one. I've remembered my third point.
Yes,
from the Bad Batch.
All right, let's get it. Let's get to it.
Hang on.
It's a connection as well, keeping with the theme.
What was it? I just.
Do you need a notepad to write things down?
Yes. Oh, it just came to my brain. I just forgot it. Roll on with the show.
Okay.
I'll interrupt later.
All right. Let's go. Final thoughts, scores out of 10. Chris, start us off. Final thoughts, scores out of 10 for what is this episode called? The Solitary Clone.
Yes. So this was a pretty freaking awesome episode. It's really tough. Like when I was watching it, the one feeling I didn't have was this is the best thing I've ever seen, which does happen from time to time with me in Star Wars. Like it was great, but it's just I don't know. There was something about it. I can't put my finger on it. I've only seen it once. I think I need to watch it again, maybe to feel it. But I just feel like the show has not peaked yet. I feel like the show can get a little bit better, and maybe it's the lack of having Omega and the main characters in it or something. There was just something about it where I'm like, okay, this is really, really great, but it's not as good as it possibly could be. So for me, despite the fact that, so many positive things to say about it, I would just be kind of repeating myself because I had a pretty long, a pretty detailed initial thoughts on it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Like, it is a great episode. It's like, right up there for what this show, what the potential that this show can get. But I do think that the episode could be a little bit more like suspenseful or twisty or complete throughout the whole thing. I felt like this episode was really made great by the back part of the episode. I think as it continued to get better and better, I think the ending of the episode was like the best character stuff. I think it was just kind of a little bit of a slow entry into that for me with the writing. So I think that they still have room to kind of improve and do a little bit better. But yeah, 9 out of 10, pretty near perfect, awesome episode for me.
All right, 9 out of 10 from Chris. Hannah, we're going to go to you next because I think you just remembered what your third point was.
I've remembered it, and it's staying this time. Whew. One thing I found interesting of this episode is we had a whole episode with very interesting characters, obviously Crosshair and Cody, but no show of the Bad Batch or Omega and at all. Now, the last time this happened was in Boba Fett, and the fallout that got was just horrific. It just I felt like it just totally overshadowed like how amazing those episodes were, because everyone's like, it's not the Boba Fett thing, it's minute out. Like, everyone's so upset about it.
That's your impression of me? What?
Very spot on Canadian accent.
You. So by
that was
trait,
just hold on a second, Hannah. Chris, that was even worse. That was
I wasn't trying to do an accent. I was just trying to do some character other than me, the narrator character. There's a fifth host, then a narrator. They talk like this. Well, the narrator of it.
Sorry, Hannah. Continue.
God. But no one's. I haven't seen a single person mention this. In my sphere of social media, Star Wars, mention this at all, being like, where's the Bad Batch in this episode? Like, everyone just like took it, being like, this was a great episode. Like, this is a great episode of the Bad Batch. Like, I just found that interesting. I don't really have a remark or opinion to make on it, but I'm just like, isn't that an interesting concept that everyone had meltdowns like a year ago, being like, oh my God, it's no Boba Fett. But now it's okay. It can fly.
Okay. I will grant you one difference between the Boba Fett thing and this is that the Book of Boba Fett is the Book of Boba Fett, one person. He wasn't in the entire episode, whereas this is the Bad Batch. Crosshair is
that's
part of the Bad Batch.
I can vibe that. Dang it! Yes, that makes so much sense.
I can forgive it for that.
So
that's
logical.
That's why I wasn't screaming about that personally. I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense, though.
I'm just in still the mode where I see this type of animation, and I think it's like naturally an anthology. So, like, if at any point they do an aside, like, it's just like they did that so much in the Clone Wars, where the main characters weren't in it, that I'm just used to it.
Fair enough.
That's fair. Okay, all right. I'll take it down a notch now. I'm so good.
All right. Well, why don't you give us your final thoughts and score out of 10?
I really love this episode. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed seeing the battle droids again and droidicas, and it was very cool maneuvers by Crosshair and Cody there. And I really I was kind of what you said at the start, Chris. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good episode, like the whole time. But the moment it became like, wow, this was an incredible piece of storytelling for me, was right at the end where everything had been done, and Cody was. They were like outside getting on the ships again, and people were landing and more troopers were coming in. And there was just about 40 seconds, I reckon, of no dialogue at all. And it was just these really ominous music. It was shots of Cody looking at the troopers, and you can see he's thinking, and, where he sees the, that really crappy Imperial guy. Like, it was just such a telling scene with no dialogue, but you can totally infer everything that's happening. And it was so poetic to me that I really, really loved. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think we could still I'm going to leave a bit of room there for even better episodes to come. But a very happy 9.10, 9 out of 10. There we go.
9.000 out of 10.
9.0 out of 10 from Hannah. Ben, over to you. Final thoughts, score out of 10 for the solitary clone.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this one. I think visually, writing wise, emotion wise, this was the show firing on all cylinders. It was exactly the kind of episode I was looking for, especially after the premiere. And I'm not saying that as like I hated the premiere. Like, I just think that this is a perfect little companion to it. I think it made sense, and we really needed that. And to have the premiere be totally devoid of Crosshair and its story, I think I'm not necessarily of this opinion, but I think you could definitely make the argument that Crosshair is probably one of the most deepest and most interesting characters in the entire series. And his story is something that really, I hope they continue going back. I hope this is a sign of the things to come. Really, truly. I hope we continue to kind of like have a couple episodes with Omega and Tech and Crosshair and all those guys, and then we come back to Crosshair and we see what he's doing. And I hope we continue to do that. And I hope this means kind of like, and not in a way that like obviously Crosshair is chasing after them, because he's not, because they're off the Empire's radar. Rampart is not going after them, and Crosshair seemingly does not want to go after them. He seemingly is done with that, but that whole idea, and I think these were perfect episodes to start the season with, and this episode in particular was incredible. Obviously, stilled my heart being a massive Clone Wars fan going way back. This was lots of nostalgia, but also a welcomed twisting of the whole clones versus droids things. The trick shots were just amazing. Crosshair, I forgot how much I like Crosshair, to be honest. Like, he's a beast. He is absolutely the real MVP of the Bad Batch. And the action was great. The dialogue was great. Everything was perfect. So I honestly have no complaints. I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 from Ben. And I too will give this one a 10 out of 10. I thought, like I said off the top, I think this is the best episode of the show aside from the premiere, which was 3 episodes, basically. So I give it a 10 out of 10 for all the reasons I laid out at the top. Phenomenal writing, phenomenal direction, phenomenal lighting, phenomenal color, phenomenal action, phenomenal sound design and music. Just terrific stuff. And it's the best kind of episode for me because it's great on the first viewing, and it gets even better on the repeat viewing. It's like a Rian Johnson film in that way. It's like Glass Onion. It's great the first time, and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, those are all the things I missed the first time, or all these things that I thought were interesting the first time have a double meaning now. And again, I go back to that scene with Cody in front of the monument, which that there's a connection for you, Ben. That monument's been in other stuff.
You're right.
Has a point now too.
Yes, huzzah! But
everybody's trying to steal my connection corner away from me.
But yeah, that scene in front of the monument, right? You watch it the first time, you think Cody and Crosshair are just getting caught up, and then later you realize when you watch it again, no, that's Cody trying to see, does he have an ally in Crosshair or not? And there's more scenes like that through the episode. I thought the action was terrific, just all around. Really phenomenal episode. So 10 out of 10. The Bad Batch is back for me after a little bit of a slow start last week, and I so cannot wait for next week. All right, let's get to a couple of news stories that have come out in the last week or so that are kind of interesting. We'll start with this one. This is a kind of interesting report about Dan Hernandez and Benji Sammet. These are a writing duo. Apparently they're developing something for Lucasfilm. This came out is another kind of low-key bit of news, or low-key reveal of this news. It was in a Deadline story about the two of them and how they've signed a big overall deal with ABC, of course, also owned by Lucasfilm, and just sort of buried in one of the later paragraphs of the story as if it's kind of common knowledge, which we found out it isn't. It says they are currently developing unannounced projects for both Lucasfilm and Walt Disney Pictures. So these guys, I think, are probably best known for their for writing the Detective Pikachu movie They also wrote The Addams Family 2, the animated film, and they've worked with Josh Gad on his animated series Central Park. I'll be honest, I have not seen anything that these guys have done. So
I saw Detective Pikachu.
I did as well. It was a good like B-level funny. It's kind of the same type of movie that Free Guy was, like that type of like kind of irreverent action, almost parody of an action movie type movie.
Yeah. Okay. Both have Ryan Reynolds in them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay,
so that means Ryan Reynolds is going to be Star Wars canon pretty freaking soon.
Well, and Sean Levy, who directed Free Guy and the Adam Project, also freaking collaborator Ryan Reynolds. He's directing a movie. Could this all just
basically
be...
the stars are aligning? Like Ryan Reynolds
stars.
has no say in this. He's going to be in Star Wars. He's kicking and screaming.
The center of gravity that pulls all of the stars together.
Yeah. So
Ryan Reynolds is a kind of Camino here.
So I guess
planet.
I guess what this means is the premiere for the next Star Wars movie will be in Rexford in Wales, because that's where Ryan Reynolds does everything, because that's where he owns a soccer team now. So I guess that's what we can take from this. So those of you that have seen Detective Pikachu, have seen these guys work, any thoughts on what they might bring to Star Wars?
I mean, I feel like it would be a similar type thing to like the original Han Solo movie.
Well, that went well.
Yeah, not in the outcome, but what it would have ended up looking like without Ryan Howard coming in.
Ron Howard.
I think it. Did I say Ryan Howard?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I didn't even.
Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Howard.
Ron Johnson.
Ron Reynolds.
Ron Johnson. I don't know why that's indescribably funnier.
I think it would be a comedy.
Ron Johnson.
That would be cool.
Honestly, I think Solo, as much as I love Solo in its current form, in its final form, what do you say? I am eternally fascinated by what it would have been, and any all the stuff we heard about it. Like, I still want to see that. I still want to see like what would a Star Wars comedy be. So much of Star Wars is comedy already. It's really just like dialing up the comedy a little bit to make it a quote unquote comedy anyway. And from what I remember, Detective Pikachu, it's like it was a straight up comedy. It was kind of like, and I don't even know why I went and saw that movie, to be honest. I'm not really a Pokemon fan. I played Pokemon Go for like a day when it was really popular. But like obviously it was kind of funny. It had Ryan Reynolds in it, and it's kind of working within a major universe, kind of putting all this piece together and doing it in a somewhat humorous way. So I would be curious to see like what they could do with something like Star Wars and doing something, off the beaten path that's not Skywalker saga level.
What you mention about why you saw Detective Pikachu is probably why it's a good idea to have a Star Wars movie like that, because it's like you're going to have all these people watch it that aren't really, hip to the Star Wars lore, and they're still going to be able to understand it because you probably aren't going to need to know much going in, just like us with Pokemon and Detective Pikachu.
It's bridging the generational gap.
Yes.
There it is. Yeah, Chris, I'm sure you made a great point there, but we were all distracted by it the way you said Pikachu instead of Pikachu.
Thank you. Oh, like I totally got lost.
No idea.
Did you just say Pikachu?
Pikachu. I tuned out at Pikachu.
I was wondering what you thought was funny there. I couldn't tell. What is funny?
I think you were in such a serious.
Pretty sure that's another Pokemon.
Like, yes, Pikachu.
Pikachu.
It's like,
Pikachu.
Wow.
It's just Pikachu that's pink.
I can be Hongo. Pikachu.
Okay. All right.
Love it.
We'll see what becomes of Dan Hernandez and Benji Sammet and whatever they come up with Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds will be voicing Pikachu in their Star Wars movie. That's confirmed. Take it to the bank.
There we go.
Yay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Couple of congratulations are in order to some Star Wars series for some award nominations. Andor picked up 2 nominations. It got a nomination for Outstanding Producer. of a outstanding producer of episodic television dramas. So Sand Wollenberg, Tony Gilroy, Kathleen Kennedy, Diego Luna, Toby Haynes, Michelle Rejwan all get the nomination there. It also picked up a nomination for the Screen Actors Guild for outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble in a comedy or drama series, because Andor notoriously funny. And lastly, Obi-Wan Kenobi getting the nod for Best Director, Deborah Chow, for movies for television and limited series by the Directors Guild of America. So that is directors acknowledging other directors. So pretty big deal for Deborah Chow. Cool. So shout out to everybody for those award nominations. We will cross our fingers and our toes that you win. And also in the news this week, there's a new Star Wars project that might have a code name that's might be going into production very, very soon. This comes from Production Weekly. Ghost Track 17 is apparently the code name for a new Star Wars project from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. No other details are available. The speculation is that this is either like a new Mandoverse project or it's just the code name for Mandalorian season 4.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's most
really
likely.
Could go either way.
Yeah, I it's been a really long time since Mandalorian season 2. Like, it's been over 2 years. I don't think they're going to have that big a gap between this season and the next season. I think I suspect season 4 of The Mandalorian will premiere next calendar year. Maybe not exactly a year later, but at some point in 2024, I think we'll see Mandalorian season 4. So I don't think we're looking at another gap like this.
Because the original, I don't think the plan was to have the gap be this big. I think the pandemic's made it longer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it seems very likely. Also, I hate to read too much into these production code names because they often don't mean much. Or what they do mean is
Buccaneer,
like an in joke that nobody really gets. But Ghost Track, The Ghost, something to do with Rebels, Ahsoka season 2. I don't know, something
17.
There. I don't know. I was throwing it in there. I don't think that's likely, but it's possible, I suppose. Yeah. All right. So that's it for the news. But one more thing we want to do was kind of a leftover from the end of last year. If you remember earlier last year, after the book of Boba Fett finished, we went back through our scores that we gave at the end of each discussion. And we're going to kind of see how they averaged out and whether we sort of stand by that as a whole, or if we think our opinion has shifted, evolved at all in the time since the show's been on, or now that we've seen the whole thing. So we're going to do that with Andor. We're going to go back through our scores for Andor, and we're going to see how we feel about how we ranked that show. So, Ben, we're going to start with you. So just to remind everybody, here are Ben's scores. Ben gave episodes 1 to 3 an 8.5. It gave episode 4 a 9.5. It gave episode 5 an 8. Gave episode 6 a 9.5. Episode 7 a 9. Episode 8 a 9.5. Episode 9 an 8. And episode 10 a 10.5. This is more difficult than I thought it would be. Episode 11 gave an 8. And episode 12 gave a 9. And for the season on a whole, Ben, you said you'd give the season an 8.5 out of 10. Your average score was 8.91.
Oh,
so a little higher, a little closer to the 9 than you were going for. I think. What do you think? Do you think you lean more towards the 9, or do you stick with your 8.5? Where are you feeling?
I think in retrospect, as with most Star Wars things, like once I watch it and I'm like, I'm being critical, I'm trying to have a nuanced opinion, and then I walk away from it, and then I think back, I'm like, that was really good. Like, normally,
and you whisper it to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
The Last Jedi, that was really good.
It really creeps people out. I walk up and then just whisper in their ear, Andor was really good. You should watch it. Wait, where'd you come from? You whispering weird crap in my ear.
At Celebration, Ben's gonna wander up behind you whilst dressed as Omega and say, Andor was really good. And you're gonna spin around. So
doing?
Sorry, Ben. I feel like we distracted you. What were you saying?
No. We're fine. I've said way too much. All I'm gonna say is that I think I would lean towards the 9. I think I would lean towards
the
a
9.
more positive because I really just like the more I think about Andor, I'm like, that was good Star Wars.
Say 8.91. You think that's fair? Or would you go even a little higher?
Just throw it in that direction. I don't care.
Okay. All right. So Ben, pretty on board with his scoring. Chris, we'll do you next. For episodes 1 to 3, you gave him a 10 out of 10. For episode 4, you gave it a 10 out of 10. Episode 5, you gave it a 10 out of 10. Episode 6, 10 out of 10. Episode 7, 10 out of 10. Episode 8, 9 out of 10. Episode 9, 9.5 out of 10. Episode 10, 11 out of 10. Episode 11, 9 out of 10. Episode 12, 10 out of 10. Season as a whole, season as a whole, you give a 10 out of 10. Your average score, 9.85. Pretty on point.
I actually was surprised when I think I asked you ahead of time what it was, and when you told me it didn't come back out to 10 out of 10, because I had remembered the 11 out of 10, and I was thinking that might have brought the average back to 10 because I knew I rated it a little lower at points. So I was kind of surprised that it didn't balance back to a 10 out of 10, but it's close enough. Close enough. And yes, I agree with that. I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I think as a single season, it's definitely one of the best seasons of Star Wars television that we've ever gotten, animated and not. I think it was most internally consistent. There weren't really any episodes that were terrible or just okay. It was just a matter of some episodes were good and some episodes were great and some episodes were really great. That's really how I feel. So the whole season as a whole, really great season. And I recommend it to anyone to watch. I think everybody
should watch Andor. It's really good.
Yes.
I love it.
All right, Hannah, we'll go through your scores next.
Oh no, I'm scared. I'm frightened.
It's just like a performance review. It's literally a performance review.
Episodes 1 to 3, you gave an 8 out of 10. Episode 4, 8 out of 10. Episode 5, you gave the lowest score anyone gave for an episode this season, 6 out of 10. Episode 6, you gave a 9 out of 10. Episode 7, 7 out of 10. Episode 8, 8.5 out of 10. Episode 9, 9 out of 10. Episode 10, 9 out of 10. Episode 11, 7 out of 10. And episode 12, 7 out of 10. You gave the season as a whole a 7. Your average score, 7.85. So leaning almost a full point higher. How do you feel? What do you think?
Wow. I'm surprised how highly I rated them in the weeks. There's a couple of 8 and 9. Okay.
Ben's like,
honestly,
I think my score is higher. Hannah's, you're like, I think my score is lower.
Going into a few of the episodes being like, oh, I didn't like this, and by the end you're like, okay, I kind of see why this is kind of good.
Yeah, I was
I remember that happening a few times.
I guess so. I'll stick with a 7. Like I don't think I could give it anything higher than a 7. Like as a whole, I wouldn't go any further than that. Because if anything, like my view of Andor has gone slightly lower since watching it, just in terms of like the emotional impact and like the thinking of it. Like I honestly like have not thought of the show since it's come out and like since it's finished. So it's like so there's no real reason for me to be like, oh, this is kind of marinated to get better.
Have you watched it?
It's the age gap. It's the generational gap. Okay,
yeah.
I just don't get it.
If you're lying, if you're asleep at night and you hear someone going, "Have you watched Andor? Andor's pretty good. Andor, It's me.
Oh, I love it. Oh, why am I so cynical? But yeah, I don't know. Just honest.
Fair.
7.
Totally fair.
7's good.
7's good. All right.
Way above average. People forget. Everybody grades on a curve. 7 is
I'm honestly
average.
really, I mean, like let's be honest. It's really good that you're here because like the entire time, Andor would just been us going like, "How great was that? Awesome was that?" Blah, blah, blah. It was just been a
I'm just like,
gushing.
whoa,
And then Hannah was like, "Whoa, hang on! Not everybody loves this show. This isn't what it's all cracked up to be. I'm here to tell you why."
I would particularly love it when it would go from Chris to from your take to my take. That was the best time. This is the most exquisitely made creation of Star Wars ever. And I'm like, yeah, it was kind of murky. It's like, what a contrast. No, it's good.
That's why you tune in to this show for the contrast. And finally, we'll go through my scores. I gave episodes 1 to 3 a 9, episode 4 a 9, episode 5 a 9, episode 6 a 10, episode 7 a 9.5, episode 8 a 10, episode 9 an 8.5, episode 10 a 10, episode 11 an 8.5, episode 12 a 9, and I gave the season as a whole a 9.5. The average score came out to 9.25. And yeah,
close.
I'm good with that. I'll stand by. Yeah. I'd say, I'd still go with 9.5 or, somewhere in that between 9 and 9.5 range for the season as a whole. And just for interest's sake, the average score amongst all of us for the season.
Metacritic score
is the average score amongst all of us for the season 8.96 amongst the four of us.
Sounds like a Metacritic score.
Yeah. The high,
89% certified fresh.
There you go. The highest rated episode was episode 10, which got a 10.13 out of 10. And the lowest rated episode 11, which only got a 7.9.
Wow.
So there you go. There you go.
Wow.
Stuff. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm going to put everybody through this again when the Bad Batch is done. I've already started recording our scores in the spreadsheet. So we'll go through that again. And one thing that we did for Book of Boba that we didn't do for Andor is audience scores. Well, we've got the audience scores for Bad Batch as well. So we'll have that in
have the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
The audience score and the critic score.
Yeah.
Critics
So we'll have
score.
that.
Jogan fruit.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll go through that, I'm sure, in about 10, 12 weeks time. So look forward to that. Mark it on your calendar.
Nice.
And tune in. And but that's it. That's everything. That's all we've got. That's all she wrote. And with that, we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
Awesome. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us at the SWU on social media. We'll be back with another episode or perhaps episodes next week. You'll have to keep tuned to at the SWU to see how we're going to handle this onslaught of Star Wars content that is coming at us.
It all depends. When you see the trailer on Monday, if you go, wow, that was a great trailer, expect 2 shows. If you go, that was it, 1 show.
Very easy. You'll know Monday.
Yeah.
You'll know Monday. But Dominic, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
It was my pleasure, as always. I just realized as we were going through our scores that we never gave the scores from some of the listeners for today's episode of The Bad Batch, so I'll quickly run through those. Matthew Hardy gave it a 9 out of 10. Chillin' in the Basement, 9 out of 10. Joel Davis, 9 out of 10. And Chosen Nightwolf with the correct answer of 10 out of 10. What fun. Great fun talking about this episode of The Bad Batch. Great fun getting set for Mando Season 3, the new trailer on Monday. I genuinely cannot wait, although I think I'll be at work when it drops, so I might have to wait a little while to actually watch it myself, or just, everybody knows I'm not the Star Wars guy, but as close to as we have at my job, I'll slip away.
It's the Star Wars guy, Canadian edition.
Right, yeah. Write the song. Write the song, somebody.
Gotta steal Canada back, because Ben kind of has both territories.
Yeah, he's got that covered. He's got Canada in a chokehold over there.
Ben, I should give you the jersey. You should be wearing this. Great episode. Right. Great episode. One more thing I meant to say about Commander Cody is that at the end of the episode, he decided it was finally time to risk it all for something real.
Yes, I was waiting. I've been waiting for that mention the whole show. Yes.
It's been a great show. Can't wait to do it all again. Hopefully 2 times next week.
Cody's going to be teaming up with Cassian Andor. I know it.
Andor. Yeah. They'll definitely risk it all.
That's Dominic J25 is where you can find Dom on social media. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, this was a pleasure as always. Yeah, always good to have some news and a brand new piece of Star Wars to talk about, especially a great piece of Star Wars like that. So yeah, looking forward to more Bad Batch next week and whatever that trailer holds for us next week. Should be a lot of fun. And I meant to mention this off the top. I forgot. We're doing more Discord shenanigans. So definitely go check out the Star Wars Underworld Discord. The link, I promise it works. Just go to the description or wherever you're at on your podcatcher or whatever. There will be an updated link. Go over there, sign up. It's real easy. Get it on your phone or whatever else. You can get into the Discord. Not only do you get access to all kinds of interesting conversations, you also get to connect with us every other Friday night. We're doing some interesting stuff. Tomorrow, Friday the 13th, at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be hosting another little Fall Guys little meetup. So come on, play some Fall Guys. Fall Guys completely free, very easy. Hannah came on the first time and whooped all of us.
If I can do it, great. Anyone can do it.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's great fun. It's always fun. Jeff and Joel and all those guys, a big crew actually show up usually every night. So yeah, definitely go check that out. And then we'll be doing other stuff. I don't know, maybe some watch-alongs for some Star Wars stuff, maybe Bad Batch episodes. I don't know, maybe some other games. I don't know. Just stick around to find out. Definitely go join the Discord and check that out for yourself. But yeah, I hope to see you guys next week.
Link is in the description, and you can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. Hannah, who, because of your channel name, now you're from your last name, the Raeside.
I know, I am
no
me.
Longer your name.
It confuses people so much. So much.
Thank you.
But yes, thank you for another great week of discussion, another great week of laughs. Hopefully we start to close this generational gap over the next coming weeks. Of the
Very important.
Batch. We'll work hard at it. I'm sure we'll come closer together as hosts. But no, I'm loving the Bad Batch. I'm a big fan of the Star Wars animation. So I've been looking forward to these conversations of animation, because also my very first time on this podcast as a guest was talking about the Bad Batch. It was that Trace and Rafa episode. So Bad Batch, and here is
written by the same writer as this week's episode.
Sparkle.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Oh, wow. What a beautiful connection that is. There we go. But yeah.
That's the connection corner, Ben.
Yeah. Come on, Ben.
Ben is left the chat.
Yeah, Ben just peaced out. He's like, all right, I've had enough. Got to steal in my corner.
I mean, Dad, you stole all of Canada, the entire country.
Yeah, you can't sulk if you got Canada.
But yeah. I can't just have one little corner, okay? And Canada, okay? Just give me that.
Canadian corner. Oh my god.
Ben's Canadian corner. Connections in Canada with Ben. Ben's Canadian corner. Bop, bop.
That shouldn't work as well as it does. No.
Which corner though? You got the Vancouver corner? You got that really cold, snowy corner there?
Yeah. One of the southern corners, please. I come from a warm climate. Come on.
Yeah. Right. Now that's what I'm talking about.
I'm sure Nova Scotia is warm. So you can follow Hannah at the Raeside, RAE side. Also check out the other personalities that we have on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including Ion Cannon, which is where you can find Matthew and Joel's show, which is on this same channel. Make sure you follow their separate social media, and as well as Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, which is our good friend Jordan's show with his friends. So check that as well. They usually broadcast on Twitch, so make sure you search for Tales from Beyond the Galaxy on Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel here. Huge thanks to Joel for super chatting. No one else, just Joel. And thanks to all of our channel members who help make everything possible over here. As always, you can subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. And if you have any listener feedback and you're not around during the live shows to leave some comments, you can email us at swunderworld@gmail.com. Check it out. All right, we'll be back.
Call a call back, folks. That's what we call back.
That's
You know,
right.
all the
Like
way
poetry,
around.
it rhyme.
That's right. Story circle thingy. Let's go. The ring square.
It's a ring theory.
Yes. What are the
We
ring
need to end
theory?
this show. Oh my god.
Okay. We'll
All right,
be back.
Salute. Just end it.
We'll
Yes.
be back. Until then.
Tom. There we go.
For Dom and Ben and all the other fantastic contributing folks at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
Oh no.
It's a wrap.